Welcome to the Life Unscripted podcast with Rosabel, the place where genuine conversations meet inspiring stories, personal growth, and a dash of humor. I'm Rosabel, your host, inviting you to embrace life's unpredictable journey. Celebrate your unique story and find joy in everyday moments. Get comfortable, stay curious, and let's explore together. Unscripted, unapologetic, and unstoppable. Hello, welcome back to the Life Unscripted podcast with Rosabel, the show where we dive into deep, real stories that uplift, challenge, and empower. I'm your host, Rosabel Sofel, and today we have our guest. She's a woman whose journey from trauma triumph is nothing short of inspiring, Karin Thompson. She's an author, speaker, and a woman of unwavering faith. She's written a deeply moving memoir titled My Journey to Enjoying My Life. After the pain, there is a better life waiting for you, as well as several romance novels. Yes, she's got a range, and she is currently working on her 8th book. Through her writing and speaking, Karin shares a message that hits home for so many. No matter how your life started, you can change your destiny. She's here to talk about her story, her healing, and the power of forgiveness, hope, and resilience. Karin, welcome to the Life Unscripted. I am so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. It's such a privilege to be able to share my journey with your subscribers.
Thank you. So let's start at the beginning. So your memoir, it is incredibly raw. It's honest, right?
Oh,
It talks about your childhood experiences with abuse and trauma. So what moved you to share such a personal story with the world in my journey to enjoying my life?
yeah, that's a good question. I had no intention of sharing anything about anything because, the era that I come out of, we had to be seen, not heard. We weren't allowed to talk about what went on inside the house. Besides the fact my dad would always say that if we said anything, he would kill us, and we never doubted him. But I was actually, I had such a stirring inside me I had to do something, but I couldn't put my finger on it. And I spent a lot of time just praying and seeking about it. And I felt God wanted me to write this book to help others. And I felt, if you're going to do something, you've got to be honest. There's no sense beating around the bush. People need honest answers and honest results. They don't need you to sugarcoat it, because we've done all the sugarcoating that we ever need. We need some answers,
Right.
and we need help. And so my book is honest. My book is open. It's not easy. It's not an easy journey. I'm not trying to tell you that, today you forgive and tomorrow you're all swinging on the chandeliers. There's nothing like that. It's a lifestyle. It's a journey that you have to go through. But I felt that I just had to share that there is life. It's not the end of the world that you got abused. It's a tragedy that had happened, but it's not the end of you. You can change your life. You can have a good
Absolutely.
life. Absolutely, yes.
And then, of course, it's been said in the past, or it's been said that what doesn't kill you make you stronger.
True.
And also having that kind of being able to share that kind of vulnerability, it also takes courage, but that's also the message that I speak in my book as well.
Wow.
So what was the healing process for you as you wrote this book?
I wrote this book many years after my journey. I went through my journey in the 80s. I wrote this book 2018. So, like I said, I had no intention of writing a book. I am a qualified counselor, so whenever I counseled people, I would, mention my journey and stuff like that. But no one ever said to me, "Hey, why don't you write a book?" Up until God did, But that's my abuse has become my testimony, which is, out of the bad has become good. I've been able to share some insightful things with people, and I've been able to encourage people. And the Bible also says that the older woman should encourage the younger woman. I'm not calling myself old, but I'm a bit older, and I can encourage the younger woman. So I've been able to share my journey, which has been wonderful.
That is awesome. And you do talk a lot about forgiveness in your work, and that is something that touches so many of us, all of us, especially those who have experienced pain and at the hand of others. And to make it even worse, sometimes, people that they actually know in their life, family members. How did you come to embrace forgiveness, and how has it transformed your life?
What a loaded question. um, uh, you can't go anywhere until you forgive. And the problem is that you
Absolutely.
don't want to forgive. Because I had this feeling inside me that if I forgave my dad for all the stuff that he did to me, that I was sort of ticking a box saying it's okay what happened. That was my preconceived idea. And then, of course, the more I spent time with God and the more I loved God, I realized it wasn't for me, for him that I was going to forgive. It was for me. The bitterness and the
Absolutely.
anger and all the pain was in me. Whatever was going on with my dad, I had no control over, but I had control over me.
Right.
And, every time I thought about him, I could feel I suffered terribly from constipation. I could feel my shoulders tense, the headaches continuously pound. Headaches were my daily companion. Even if I took how many tablets, there was not enough tablets to take away that pounding headache because it wasn't the headache, it was the pain of the trauma that was inside me, eating me.
Right.
And what happens with trauma is it takes away more and more light out of your body. Um, and darkness starts to get into your organs. It starts to get and seep into your bones, arthritis,
Yes.
all these things. It's a cancerous thing. It actually destroys you. And then God said to me, I'm not asking you. It's a commandment. It's not like, oh, Corin, would be a good idea for you to forgive. It wasn't a suggestion. And then I realized if I'm going to walk close with my Heavenly Father, I'm going to have to obey Him and do what He wants me to do. And so I remember clearly, and in my book I say this, I say, Lord, I forgive, not because I want to, not because I feel like it, not even because I have these wonderful fluffy emotions that say, yeah, I feel so happy, I'm forgiving. None of that happened. I forgive only because you asked me to. And
Absolutely.
I did that by faith. And I can truly say it was miraculous. It was just like suddenly I had no weight. I didn't even know
Yes.
how much weight I was carrying until it was gone. I must have been carrying it out like a house on my shoulders. It was
Yes.
just the pain left. Slowly, my bowel started to work, to be honest, properly. Just my whole digestive system went. And as I went through the journey of the forgiveness, the emotions came with it, the tears came with it, that Lord, why me? Why did this have to happen? And, it's so unfair. And, all those questions you asked. But
Yes.
as I went through it, I realized some questions don't have answers. My dad
Yes.
had a bad life. He had a traumatic life. He lived in the World War II in Holland. So he had a lot of trauma when he was a child. And, we didn't have Google. We didn't have a chat GPR. We didn't have anyone to talk to. If you bought us an encyclopedia, there was no where it says how to help you with abuse. There was just not the material that there is today. So you tend to just deal with your own thoughts and your own life and just pass it down generation to generation to generation.
Yes.
So he had his own stuff. So I only could change me. I can't change him. So I only could deal with me. And the first step was to forgive.
Yes. Your story, as it touches perhaps other people, listeners, it also touches me deeply because I'm a survivor in a sense of so many things and the
Oh,
trauma as well as childhood. I also received of what I will call physical and emotional abuse from my
oh,
father, but faith. And this is something that I have not perhaps not been able to share much publicly, how what faith, the pivotal role that through having a relationship with God, not so much religion, but having
oh,
a
wow.
relationship with God, and being able to close your eyes and just know that there is a God that's there with you through in pain and in difficult times. He just gives you the strength to overcome, to forgive, because it takes strength. And you are so right. It's about yes, you do it for the other person, but it's more for us, for our own healing, and
Oh,
also to be able to continue on with our life, to be able to continue living. And what better way to also do it is not only now we're in so much, because healing it's a process, it's a
absolutely.
process, and we have, sometimes it's like whenever you have an addiction, you might have your moments when you go down, but then you come back, and
Oh,
then to be able to share that experience with others, it's amazing. And another thing I wanted to, and you probably mentioned this, but for someone who's listening right now, who's perhaps perhaps wrestling with the idea of forgiving someone who hurt them deeply, what would you say to them?
Well, first of all, I want to say sorry for what happened to you. I know how hard it is
Thank you.
to come back from that. And for the person who's making decisions, I want to say to you, how is life working for you? Because here you are stuck in this rut, and actually all the rut is doing is getting deeper and deeper until eventually you just can't breathe, and you live on your last nerve, and you're forever angry, you're forever bitter. And in the end, everyone will leave you because they don't want to be with a person like that. I mean, my dad died all by himself because he doesn't live in this country, and it was during COVID, so I couldn't keep in touch. But nobody wanted to be with him because he was such a nasty man, because he was so bitter. And this is what
Right.
not forgiving does to you. It makes you so angry. You're so bitter. The little thing, someone just drops something on the floor and you explode. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And so you've got to get sick and tired of being sick and tired of that kind of life. And you've got to say to yourself, is this the life that I really want for me? Who do I want Karin Thompson to be? What kind of person, woman do I want her to be? When she comes into the room, do I want everyone to say, oh, glory, here she comes, run, duck? Don't ask her how she is because you just know she's going to give you a whole lecture. Or do you want to say, oh, look, there's that lovely lady again? You know, only you have the power to change your narrative. Only you have the power to change that story. So when are you going to make this story of your life your life? When are you going to put a line in the sand and say to yourself, okay, that happened. I'm sorry it happened. It was terrible. It was tragic. There's nothing I can do about it. But here today, I stand. This is my life. How do I want to go forward with it? And once you make a
Absolutely.
decision that you want to go forward, that you take the courage to make that decision, that's your first step. Just say, look, I'm going to start going forward. Start maybe speaking to someone, see a therapist, a psychiatrist, read books, listen to podcasts, start learning every day how to get rid of that anger, forgive, how to let it heal, and start finding you. I mean, for years, you know, we lived in the house, we just kept my dad happy. We lived in the shadows. Because you never know when he was going to get ticked off, and you never know what was going to happen to tick him off. So you lived tiptoed around him all the time. And when I left home, I didn't know whether I liked tea or coffee. I didn't know if my favorite color was pink or black. I didn't know who I was. I would just say, you'd say to me, would you like some tea or coffee? Please, I'd love some. What would you like? Whatever you're making, because I don't want you to go to any trouble for me. I don't want to upset your boat. I don't want you to, what are you having? Anything you're having? Where do you want to go? Anywhere you want to go. I had no identity. And I lived life like that for many years. I did not know who Karin Thompson was. I did not know what she liked. I didn't know what she didn't like. All I knew was how to just fit in the shadows, slip into a room, disappear, and slip out.
Let me
Because
ask
that's
you
my
this real
life.
quick. Now
Mm,
that you're mentioning that, do you
mm,
think you were living like that because perhaps there was a thought in your head that you were not worthy
mm,
or you did not deserve? Because that's kind of like what happens when we are exposed to trauma, to
mm,
abuse, no matter what kind. Somehow our minds start thinking that that's what we deserve, that we're not worthy of
mm.
love. Uh,
So true.
is that
Yeah.
what you think happened, or?
Yeah, because what happens, you get a shame complex. You lose your self-esteem. You lose all your confidence. And you either my two sisters, they rebelled against my dad, so they became angry. I became a people pleaser. I was forever trailing behind him, trying to win his love, because I'm
Right.
just a softer nature person. And so the rejection that I've felt from him through the years, it took me a few years to realize that he hasn't got it to give to me, but I was still forever looking for it. So all these things build up inside you. So it's not just the unforgiveness and the anger towards him, it's what it does to you internally. I had no self-esteem. I mean, I couldn't look in the mirror. I couldn't understand why every time my dad saw me, he would go into a rage. Why would a man want to beat me black and blue? What kind of person must I be that makes him want to do that? I never thought about what kind of person was he. No, I didn't think that. I thought about me. Why was I such a bad, evil person to entice
Yeah.
someone to this magnitude? And all these emotions inside me. So you have to deal with shame. You have to deal with
Right.
guilt. You have to deal with low self-esteem. You have to deal with low confidence. A lot of baggage comes with the baggage. This is the other thing. So,
Right.
so forgiveness is just the first block. And then you start having to heal inside, and you're having to deal with all the trauma and the things that happened to you, you know,
Yes.
the process that you went through.
Let me ask you this because you mentioned that, yeah, your dad was. Did you ever, and this might be a hard a question, and as a child, or did you ever felt like your dad loved you in a way? I mean, or was it
Never,
almost you didn't feel
never.
like that?
Even my
You know,
mother, I would say to him later in life, they both passed away now, but later in life, I said to my mom, I love you. We never said I love you. And she would say, oh, that's nice. When I first met my husband and my husband said to me, I love you, I looked at him and I thought I had no idea what love was. The only thing I loved was the
wow,
dog. I don't even know that I loved my sisters because we were all so traumatized and everyone would kick my dad off and we were all paid for it. So we all
right,
lived in the survival home. And when my husband first said to me, I love you, I looked at him and I could see in his eyes there was a different face, a different, you know, like compassion, softness. And I
hmm,
said to him, I don't know what that means, but I'm saying what
right.
I think to me is that I like being with you, I enjoy your company. And I had to learn what is love because I had
Right.
no idea.
Well, the reason why I ask you that question is this because I try to find myself. I'm finding myself a lot in the stories that I share with my guests, and one of the
Uh,
things you mentioned, you say, "Well, I don't know what caused my dad to beat me to the what I get blue or something like and
uh,
those lines." But for example, in my case, my dad, early age, when I was earlier in my younger years, he was physically abusive. But there was a thing, there was a mix. There was some confusion because there was also that side of my dad that I felt that he loved me, or at least he would tell me, and he showed me he had some expression of love. So in my case, there was confusion
uh, uh,
because it's like, okay, there's this man who at times acts in this rage way and does all these things, but then there's this other man who sits me in his lap and reads me book, and it was really really hard. Let me tell you a little bit why. Because I had especially people that knew us in the small town that grew up, some people that only knew that other side of him, they will see, oh, he's a monster, he's a bad guy, or whatever, how could he do that? And then later on in life, I'll say, well, if he was also a loving father, people wouldn't believe me. So they will probably perhaps. So again, I grew up with a little bit of confusion, and to be able to like separate those, I don't know what it's worse. I don't know. I'm sure. I'm sorry again for what you had to go through. I
uh,
mean, and it's okay to I don't say it lightly.
uh, uh,
It's okay. I've learned to accept when people tell me, like, I'm sorry what you went through, because it's part of the healing. It's part of communicating. It's part of like being empathetic towards
that's
the other
right.
person, and
Uh,
and to understanding.
uh,
In a way, I can understand where you went through in some way, and then maybe perhaps you can, because again, it was some sort of abuse by a family member. So
yes.
there's a lot of it's intricate,
Uh, uh,
how everybody experiences different traumas in a way,
exactly.
right? It's just amazes me.
Mm. And I
And
think
then
for
on
your
top of that, how do you tell a little girl, like you, for example, when you're little, or a girl who's going through that, a father or mother, that they're not alone, that they're actually loved, that they're
uh,
valued? Do you think? And I think that's where faith comes in. There is a Bible verse that it really stuck to me, and it's, although your mother and father forsake you, I will not forsake you. And to me, that was my safe haven, because I will close my eyes, and whenever I felt like I was being forsaken or forgotten or hurt by my dad, I will say I have a father in heaven that loves me just the way I am. So you see how. So I wanted you to share how faith shaped your life in that way.
uh, uh. Just in saying, when your father was nice to you, it was when he was dealing with his guilt. And so, because he felt guilty of what he'd just done to you, he now repercussioned it by loving you and holding you, and until the demon that was in him rose up again, and then he'd abuse you again, and then he'd be feeling guilty. And it was a constant cycle in his life. He just didn't know how to
Yes.
deal with it,
And he did the same thing to my mother, and I
Yes,
saw my mother
exactly.
being abuse as well, and it
mm,
was very, very difficult.
yeah.
And he's alive today, and we have a relationship, and
Oh,
we
that's
talked,
beautiful.
and it's better, it's much
Yes,
better.
yes, yes.
But it takes courage,
Yes,
right?
it
To
does. It does. I'll be honest. I don't know how to do this with without God, because when
yes,
I wanted to cry, I cried, and I would feel him holding me. He got people alongside me, because, like I say, this happened in the 80s, so there wasn't really, oh, excuse me, there wasn't really the help that I could get. Tapes would arrive. We had tapes in those days. Sermons would come. Books would come. Things would come to help me. There was always a word in season. Suddenly a close friend would come, someone, because we never talked. But then someone would say to me, I just sense there's a sadness in you, and I just want you to know Jesus loves you, and you can do this. I'm very fortunate. I've got a very good husband. So we've been together 48 years now. But he went through the journey with me, and he helped me, because he loved me. Because what you really need is someone to love you, to show you that you're lovable. And,
right.
when I look back now, I've got 2 grown up children who are married. I've got 3 grandkids. We all serving the Lord. We all love Jesus. If I never forgave and let the healing process of God flow through me, I probably would not be married today, because I wouldn't have been a nice person. My kids would not know me. I mean, I've changed the trajectory of my life. I've changed our whole lives. Our legacy was going downhill. I changed that because I forgave. And that money can't buy. When I look at my
Yeah.
children, I see them love Jesus. When I look at my little grandkids, they're 8 years old and they've got their hands in the air and they're singing to Jesus. Nothing can replace that moment, because that is
Yeah.
what life is all about. And so my faith has been the anchor. Jeremiah 29 says, "Behold, I know the plans I have for you, plans for good, plans for a hope. There is a better life for you." But
I
the
want to show
first
you
step
that. I
is,
don't know if you can see it.
are you got it up there? Yeah, I can see it. Yes,
You
yes.
see it?
Isn't that
So I
beautiful?
actually made that many, many years ago when I was in school. That is my favorite Bible verse.
Wow.
It's my favorite. It
Yes,
guides me
it
in a
guides
sense
you.
because it shows you no matter what's going on in your life, you might, you don't know your plans, but God knows the plans he
Oh.
has for you.
Honestly. And
And
it's
it's
not to
just
say life will never get tough, because we live in a fallen world. There's nasty
yes.
people. I mean, you go to work and people are nasty. You go to the shop, people are
Yes.
nasty. But
Yes.
you can overcome. You can build a life strong in your faith with God, reading your Bible, praying, and going to church. And these things will build a strong foundation in you, and you get stronger inside, and you start finding your identity, you start finding who you are, and you change everything. So instead of going
Yes.
on the left, you're going the wrong path, you change it and you're now
Yes.
going the right, and now I'm living the Karin Thompson
Let
life.
me ask you this real quick.
Mm.
By any chance, was your father a believer? Was he a Christian? Was he, or
Many
was he not?
moons ago, apparently he was. Because of the war, they had to leave school and they had to work in the mines or something. I don't really know a lot about it because we never had family talks. From what I hear, I spoke to his sister one time. She said, he used to talk to God, but I don't know if they had something happened and he got his back up or something happened. Um, I mean, you can't blame the whole war on God, because people
Right.
have free will. So if he was angry
Right.
about the war and his life, he's got to realize people have choices. Um,
Right.
so, I used to tell him about Jesus, and he used to when I got saved at 12, he was very unhappy about it. And then when I married my husband, when we were all Christians and the kids were Christian, he just couldn't
Yes.
understand
So
it.
the reason I ask you that is because my father, so he grew up in Catholic faith, my mother as well. And my father had a change of mind. He became Christian evangelical when I was about 4. And that changed him in so many ways, meaning like he made a change. He was an alcoholic prior to that. So he stopped drinking, he stopped smoking. And he did some changes, but the whole thing of his temper and his anger, that took a lot longer to be. And then and the reason why I want to bring this is because unfortunately, even today in the church, even as Christians, there are many people who are believers who unfortunately abuse,
Oh,
and there's so many things. So
oh,
the point here is this is so important because I heard somewhere or read it somewhere that says that we had to place our eyes in Jesus, the Son of God, knowing that He is the only one who's he's perfect. You said it. We're living a fallen world, and so people are going to disappoint us. Even the people who are at the pulpit, the pastor, this, that,
Exactly.
and that's what I wanted to say that because it was hard for me to reconcile. Like, okay, I have someone here who's teaching me about God, and I am very thankful for it because he's actually the one who brought me to the gospel.
Oh,
And then to be able to say, hey, I'm going to continue to believe in this God because I believe he's good despite of what this man is doing, though despise this. I mean, that's the true challenge sometimes. So
absolutely,
that's why I wanted to ask you that.
yeah. And I think is, people want to put everything under the carpet and just pretend things don't happen. But
Exactly.
you can't put a band-aid on this stuff. You have to, I
Yes.
mean, it's the same when a baby has a dirty nappy. You don't just put another nappy on top of that dirty nappy. You have to take the
Right.
nappy off, wipe all the stuff away, clean it up, put the powder on, make everything nice and pretty again. It's the same. You have trauma in your mind. Everyone has something that's happened to something generation down generation. I mean, you look at certain countries, they're fighting with each other. Half of them don't even know what even started the fight because they just carried it on. So you have to confront your fears. You have to face your demons. There's no way that you can go through life and just ignore everything because sooner or later it's going to come up to bite you.
Right.
Even if you don't make a decision to do it, something is going to make a decision for you.
Yes, it's
And something
definitely.
is going to happen where the real you will explode. So we have to deal with our angers. We have to deal with our disappointments. We have to deal with our insecurities and find a common ground where we can bring peace to our mind, where we can bring healing to our lives so that we can move
Yes.
forward.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Now, let's shift gears a little bit here. And because I want to talk a little bit about the fact that you have also written romance novels as well.
yes.
That's quite a creative leap, you know? I mean,
Yes.
what drew you to that genre?
It's I don't know. It's just so pleasant. I just find it's not. My books are about. Most of them are about troubled characters,
Okay.
who are either going through traumatic stuff, or abuse, or being dumped, or just had a life. I mean, the last book I wrote, Broken Trust, she's just had a life full of. I call it a deck of cards. They just would not play properly. They would not give her
Yes.
a full flush. She just forever just couldn't catch a break. And eventually it got to the stage where, she lost her job. And if she didn't pay the rent, she was going to be on the streets. And she had no family. And then I create a story about how one act of kindness, meeting someone, she just was kind to someone, even though in all honesty, she was angry, bitter, upset. She shouldn't have been kind, but she was kind. And in that act of kindness, her whole life changed. It opened another world. It changed her journey and how she worked through it. And it just, I think it's just thoughts on paper in a light-hearted way. So when you read it, it's about forgiveness. It's about healing. It's about family. It's about saga. But there's twists and turns, and then I put love in between. So you're actually getting a healing wash, but you don't know it because you're reading a novel.
That is awesome.
Mm.
When you tell me what is next? I mean, I know you have 8 books. Sorry, your eighth book
It's
coming
coming
out.
up. Yes, yes.
And so congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you give us a sneak peek into what the readers can expect?
On the eighth book,
Hmm.
it's called My Best Friend's Secret. Same thing, secrets in a family. And so there's two families that live next to each other. So they go to school together. The kids go to school together. They have a life together, but each one is holding secrets.
Oh, wow.
The one lady's family, her family seems perfect, but her father is secretly gambling until it got to the stage where he gambled everything, and they almost lost the house. And so her beautiful life now changes because of the gambling. Her mother just goes off the deep end. And so her whole life changes. Her mom has to go back to work, and there's anger in the house. They have separate bedrooms, separate lives. And she, as a little girl, because they started 10 years old, has to deal with life through that. And the other family is the perfect family. Everyone's happy, everyone's sweet. It's beautiful. Everyone's loving. Mommy cooks chocolate chip cookies. It's beautiful. And they come together, and then a major catastrophe happens, which I won't tell you. and tears
Right.
everybody apart. And then the lies start coming out. And so I interweave all this in a story where they eventually, it pulls everyone apart and everyone goes separate ways. And then by a surprise occurrence, they bump into each other. And then they don't talk because they're so angry. It's almost like a family feud from neighborhoods.
Yes.
And then he manages to get her to talk, and then they both exchange their stories and their points of views to realize that both of them had been lied to. It wasn't just two families lying. Everyone inside the family was lying to every other member in the family. So
Wow.
then he putting all that together. Of course, in the end, everyone forgives and it ends happy ever after. But a lot of twists and turns, a lot of sagas in the family, and I think the readers really enjoy it.
Wow, that sounds super, super interesting. Now, let's dream a little bit. What's next for Karin Thompson? I mean, any future goals, personal, professional? What are you excited about other than this super, super nice books that you've written?
Yeah, I'm doing courses at church. I'm actually fortunate. On the 1st of May, I'll start my second book, Encouragement for the Weary Soul. I'm doing a course. So that's nice with the ladies at church, which is very exciting. And I've started a connect group where I'm just ministering to women and helping people to go deeper in the things of God and seeking God. So that world of ministry and speaking on podcasts and things like that is opening more up to me, so I can encourage people and I just want to give people hope, that there is a good life for you. There really is.
Yes,
You're not your past. You can have a beautiful future. You can really enjoy life, and you don't have to be stuck.
absolutely. I
Mm.
really admire this, your heart for encouraging
Oh, thank
others.
you.
For listeners who are in the middle of their own pain or who feel like their past, define them.
Mm.
What would you want, if there's one thing that they can take from away from this conversation, what would that be?
You deserve more. You think you're not worth it, but you really are. You are worth getting healed. You are worth fixing yourself. You are worth getting better. This is not your lot in life. You might be in a marriage that is just traumatized, abusive. You might have come out of something. Only you can make a decision to honor and value yourself. You are worthy. You're a beautiful person. It may be hidden because you're so angry, but only you can fix you. And you have to be strong. You have to say, look, I'm going to take that step. You don't have to live like this, especially in today's world. There's so much help available. There's free help available, especially in Australia.
Yes.
So don't settle for second best. You owe it to yourself to love yourself. And if you aren't your own best cheerleader, if you aren't your own best friend, man, who's going to be? Because you've got to have your back more than anybody else because, well, it's you. I mean, you've got to
Right.
support yourself. So I think you've just got to put your big girl boots on and you've got to put your shoulders back and say, you know what? It's my time now and I'm going to take care of me. And you go, girl, you go.
Absolutely. Karin, thank you so much for sharing your heart and your wisdom and with us today. Your story is so powerful. It reminds us that it's never too late to rewrite your future. But before we wrap up, where can listeners find your books, follow your journey, or connect with you?
I've got my website, Karin M. Thompson at wix.com.website, and I've got Amazon. I'm all over Amazon. You can find my books there. So, and Facebook, KarinThompson.author, and on Instagram, I'm there as well as KarinThompson.author.
Awesome. Well, to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us today on the Life Unscripted. So, if Karin's story moved you, inspired you, or remind you of your own strength, please share this episode with a friend. You never know who needs the reminder that hope is always within reach. You can follow the podcast on all major platforms, and if you're feeling generous, leave us a review. It always helps for others, to find this powerful conversation. So, until next time. Make sure you live boldly, love deeply, and keep writing your story unscripted. Thank you, Karin.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.